Hey guys, it's Daniel, and you're watching The Stuff of Legend. Today's gist is SpiderMan Homecoming recap to get you up to speed, so let's get into it. Cleanup on Isle Avengers. After the Avengers destroyed New York City, Tony Stark started the Department of Damage Control and ran all contracted cleanup crews out of business and made a vengeful enemy of Adrian Toomes, who invested everything he had in capital for the job and was left with nothing but the salvaged alien tech which he had Phineas Mason use to make weapons. 8 years later, dealing high-tech weapons, business is good. Phineas is now the Tinkerer, and Toomes is the Vulture with a weaponized flight suit and alien tech rifle. Roll Marvel credit. Original Spider-Man theme song plays. Film by Peter Parker. Excited to begin his training with Tony Stark, Peter vlogs and annoys Happy Hogan. Tony leaves a minor upgrade with a new high-tech Spider-Man suit. Tony and Peter are in the backseat of Happy's car, and Tony says Peter will need an alibi for Aunt May, so he and Peter go on record with Tony telling a little truth in his lie, saying everyone at the internship, meaning Civil War, was so impressed. He then kicks Peter out of the car and says, "We'll call you." 2 months later. No call. Peter rushes out of class to an alley to change into his Spidey suit, leaving his backpack behind. Spider-Man swings into friendly neighborhood action, returning stolen bikes, giving directions, and accidentally stopping a man from breaking into his own vehicle after being locked out. Saddened that Happy won't call back, Peter sees a bank robbery. Spider-Man engages, and the robbers whip out a Chitauri alien tech weapon. One goes out of control, and the deli owner across the street calls the cops. But before they arrive, the damage was already done. Peter calls Happy. Happy tells Peter that Tony sold the Avengers Tower and bought the building in upstate New York. Peter's backpack is stolen and has to go home in the suit. He sneaks in, but Ned was waiting for him to get home. Ned swears to secrecy. The girls in gym class are talking about Spider-Man. Ned defends Spider-Man loudly and gets everybody's attention. Flash calls Peter and Ned out and dares them to bring Spider-Man to the party in front of everybody. They go to the party and Peter brings his suit to flaunt, but he feels wrong and hides out on the roof where he sees a far-off explosion. It's alien tech. Spider-Man investigates. The weapons deal. 3 guys under the overpass in a weapons deal. Jackson Bryce, Herman Schultz, and an unidentified shady buyer. Spider-Man's phone rings and the dealers are spooked. They point a gun at the shady buyer and Spider-Man says, "If you're gonna shoot someone, shoot me!" Shady buyer escapes and Bryce and Schultz begin their getaway. Spidey is in hot pursuit when the Vulture grabs Spider-Man by surprise with his mechanical claws and flies way up high and drops Spider-Man over an open field. Iron Man catches him at the last second, but it's just a remote-controlled Iron Man suit. Tony is disappointed with Peter. Peter tries to explain, but Tony isn't listening. Peter is now disappointed with Tony. Tony leaves, and Peter finds an alien tech rock and brings it home. Shocking development. Bryce and Schultz return to Toomes' base of operations. Toomes fires Bryce. Bryce blackmails Toomes. Toomes grabs an alien gun and incinerates Bryce. Toomes, looking shocked, says, "I thought that was the anti-gravity gun." Toomes tosses Schultz the shocker gauntlets and says, "You're up." Herman Schultz is now the shocker. Peter and Ned are at school, and they hear Herman Schultz and the new henchman tracking alien radiation signals in the halls. Peter sneaks up close and puts a tracker on Schultz as Schultz leaves empty-handed. The tracker stops in Washington, D.C. Peter gives the alien tech to Ned to keep in his backpack. Peter rejoins the decathlon team so he can go to DC to investigate. Peter's suit is being tracked by Tony, and Peter has Ned turn off the tracker and the suit's inhibitor. Liz invites Peter to a late night swim. Reluctantly, he sneaks out instead to follow Schultz's tracker. Peter's suit gets an AI he calls Karen. Vulture swoops behind a truck to steal an alien shipment. Peter hops in the moving vehicle and engages, but gets trapped in the shipping container. He wakes up in the damage control vault, where he discovers alien tech is explosive when exposed to radiation. At the Washington Monument, Ned's backpack goes through an X-ray machine and triggers the alien tech timer bomb. Washington, D.C. At the Washington Monument, Peter tries to call Liz to warn her about Ned's backpack. The class is getting in the elevator. Peter is freaking out, trying to hurry over there to save his friends. The alien tech in the backpack goes off and disrupts the elevator, and the whole class is trapped inside. Peter has to climb up the side of the Washington Monument. He scales the wall and finds a window at the top, but the police show up in a helicopter. Peter needs to gain momentum to break the glass, so he jumps out into a backflip over the helicopter and slingshots through the glass just in time to save his friends. Shocker Reborn. In the villain's lair, we find Shocker training with the new Shock gauntlets, and he says, "I'm starting to like these." Toomes reflects on what an interruption and a wrench in his perfect weapons-dealing business Spider-Man has become, and he determines to kill Spider-Man. Cut to Peter and Ned at school, and Peter tells Ned he's figured it out. The wingsuit guy is stealing from damage control, and what he takes from damage control he uses to build the weapons, so when he does, I'll be there to stop him. On the phone with Happy, he finds out it's moving day, and the Avengers Tower is moving all its priceless stuff to the new site, including Stark Tech and the priceless Chitauri alien tech. Peter gets sent to detention, but ditches out and goes home. Karen, the AI, replays the recorded footage from last Friday under the overpass where the weapons deal went down. Karen runs facial recognition and IDs the shady buyer as 33-year-old Aaron Davis. Spider-Man then tracks Davis to a parking garage where he interrogates him very poorly. Although he is a criminal, Aaron Davis mentions that he agrees with Spider-Man that these guys are too extreme and the weapons need to be off the street because he has a nephew in Queens. Aaron Davis tells him he doesn't know where the Vulture is, but he knows where he's going to be, and that he will be meeting with someone he used to work with. Staten Island Ferry. Peter goes to the Staten Island Ferry. He gets a call from Aunt May, but he ignores the call. He sees Toomes with Shocker and makes his way to where the big deal is going down in the carport on the ferry. Spider-Man interrupts the deal. A fight breaks out with Spidey, Shocker, Mac Gargan, and the other henchmen, when all of a sudden the FBI reveal themselves as hidden passengers on the ferry. Spider-Man blew the sting operation. Mac Gargan gets hit bad and is left with a hideous scar over his eye and face. The Vulture appears with an alien tech rifle and begins his attack. Spider-Man pulls the rifle out of his hand and onto the deck. Vulture says, "You have no idea what you're dealing with," and the rifle begins a constant fire in every which direction. Spider-Man can't stop it and the ship is beamed in half. Spider-Man scrambles to secure web lines everywhere and hold it together. The plan fails and Spider-Man is holding two web lines that are slowly coming undone. He can't hold it, and then suddenly the ship starts coming back together. Iron Man shows up to save the day. Tony is furious. Peter put the whole ship's crew and passengers in danger and blew the FBI sting op. Tony demands the suit back and Peter begs him, "Please, I'm nothing without this suit." And Tony delivers the crushing line, "If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it." Peter goes home in a New York City tourist shirt, and Aunt May is worried sick. She lays into Peter and then he breaks down and tells her he lost the internship. She comforts him. A normal life. Back to school, Peter focuses on grades, friends, and Legos with Ned. He is finally out of his slump and getting back in a groove. Peter runs into Liz in the hall between classes and apologizes for his absence at the party. He tells her he likes her. She likes him too. She mentions she doesn't have a date to homecoming yet, and Peter asks her to go with him. She says yes, and Peter is on cloud 9. When he shows up to her house to pick her up, the door opens, and Adrian Toomes is standing there. Toomes is Liz's father. Peter is terrified, nervous, and silent. He shakes his hand, and Adrian says, "Hell of a grip. Come on in." Peter is quiet, awkward, and scared. Peter never took his eyes off Toomes. He doesn't even look up at Liz to put on the corsage. He just hands her the box. The mother takes a photo of the two of them, and Peter looks terrified. Toomes questions Peter to prod him and tease his daughter's date. He then offers to drive them both to the dance. The car ride is silent until Toomes asks Peter what he does. Liz mentions the Stark internship and that he knows Spider-Man. Toomes locks eyes on Peter in the rearview mirror. Peter tries to look casual, but Liz mentions how Spider-Man saved her and her class and how Peter disappeared during the decathlon in DC. Toomes grins as he finally realizes Peter Parker is Spider-Man. They pull up at the school and Toomes tells Liz to go on inside and that he wants to have a man-to-man talk with Peter. She leaves and Toomes tells Peter, "You saved my daughter, so now I'm gonna return the favor. You leave here, forget this ever happened, and don't interfere with my business again." Peter subtly drops his phone on the floor of his car and exits the vehicle. Peter is inside for a moment and realizes he has to stop the Vulture. He apologizes to Liz and takes off running down the halls. He tears off his outer clothes to reveal his spider suit underneath. Just outside the school, Shocker attacks. A battle ensues and Peter's web shooters are knocked off of his wrists. He is seemingly helpless against the powerful and ranged blaster gauntlets Shocker is wielding. But just then, Ned shows up, having picked up one of the web shooters, and rescues Peter. Ned goes into the computer lab at school and tracks Peter's cell phone, which he stealthily left in Adrian Toomes' car. Peter tracks him down to his warehouse and base of operation. Peter goes inside and finds Adrian sitting up against the desk in the middle of the room, and Peter approaches cautiously. Toomes starts discussing his plans and how he had a good thing going until Peter had to screw it up. He continues rambling on, but it is just a distraction as he is activating his wingsuit remotely for a surprise attack. Peter is caught off guard and gets knocked down, and Toomes brings the whole building down on Peter. Toomes enters his wingsuit and flies off to the now sold Avengers Tower to wait for the last shipping plane to leave the rooftop hangar. Spider-Man Rubble Scene. Spider-Man gets pinned in the rubble. He is hurt and afraid. He is trapped and giving up, but then he looks down and sees his mask and his reflection together. He remembers Tony saying, "If you are nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it." Peter finds in himself the strength to lift the building off of him. Spider-Man rushes to catch the Vulture at Stark Tower. Vulture follows the jet, and Peter shoots a line onto the wingsuit and hangs on for the flight. Vulture starts the heist. Spider-Man enters. They engage in battle. The plane goes down, and Spider-Man is knocked out. Waking up in a daze, the Vulture swoops in to resume the beatdown. The Vulture pins Spider-Man under his mechanical claws and is ready to kill Peter when Toomes spots a large crate full of raw and exposed alien tech. Vulture goes over to pick up the motherlode of alien technology when Peter sees the damaged crate and realizes that the wingsuit is leaking radiation. Remembering that the alien tech would react with the radiation and cause an explosion that would kill Toomes, Peter tries to web pull Vulture, but his web shooter was destroyed in the battle. He yells at Toomes to stop, but he doesn't hear him. The bombs go off and Vulture goes down in flames. Peter rushes over to the wreckage and pulls Adrian out of the burning flight suit. Toomes is alright and fully aware that Spider-Man just saved and spared his life. Mission accomplished. The DDC and Happy show up to the wreckage to find Toomes there with a note from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Back at school, Liz tells Peter she is moving to Oregon with her mom. The decathlon champions appoint Michelle, now known as MJ, as the new team lead. Note, she's not Mary Jane. It's just a tease and a throwback to the classic Mary Jane Watson. Mid-credits scene. Prison. Vulture is in prison with Matt Gargan, who has a neck tattoo of a scorpion. Gargan blames Spider-Man for his facial scars and prison time. He asks Toomes if he knows who Spider-Man is. He and some friends want to kill the Spider-Man. Toomes says to Gargan, "If I knew who he was, he'd already be dead." End scene. End credit scene. Patience. Captain America comes out on screen to tease and let down the audience. He talks for a brief moment about the virtue of patience, pauses, smiles, and walks off camera. The end. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, give me a like. If you loved it, share the video with your friends. And if you hated it, well, share it with your enemies. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for my next upload. And please leave a comment down below with any suggestions you would like to see me do a video on. I'll be putting out an egg hunt and theory video to discuss all the hidden secrets and treasures all throughout Spider-Man Homecoming and what they could mean for the MCU moving forward. Again, my name is Daniel, and this is The Stuff of Legend.